Tesla stock is down almost 1% today on fears the Federal Reserve will not be cutting interest rates as much as we previously thought, following some, on the surface, good data from retail sales and initial jobless claims. Of course, when you look under the surface, it was not nearly as strong as the headline number. In fact, this was the largest seasonal adjustment ever in September. And in fact, if you take out that seasonal adjustment, the raw data inputs should suggest a 7% decline month over month in retail sales, but we're not going to talk about that. In fact, we are going to talk about that here in this video because I think eventually that will start being reflected in the headline numbers, but Wall Street's not going to talk about that much today. But I do think it is paramount that you understand the actual data that we are seeing. Nonetheless, we do have a lot of breaking news for Tesla that I will also share with you here in this video. From Optimus, from Nvidia's CEO Jensen Huang, that just said Elon Musk is superhuman, which is, I would say, the biggest endorsement you can ever get from anyone, at least in this moment in time. You also have news that the Cybertruck is coming to a Canadian city near you. Perhaps not near you, but near me because I live in Michigan. Beyond the point, I think all of these things are good news, and we have a lot more to share on that front. So first and foremost, let's start with your Tesla stock breaking news today, and there's quite a bit of it. First and foremost, Jim Cramer said this about Tesla's robotaxi. He says, quote, "At the end of the day, do you really want to bet against Elon Musk? I don't. I think the odds are good he'll figure this out. So even if you don't want to own it, you're taking your life in your hands if you try to short it." Which is crazy. Short sellers did not learn their lesson in 2020 when Tesla stock rallied over 700%, putting Jim Chanos and others out of business. It is also being reported that Cybertruck VINs are officially being assigned to order holders in Canada for the first time, with deliveries that are expected to begin within the next 1 to 2 weeks. It is being reported today that Tesla has now installed 60,000 supercharger stalls globally. The 60th thousand stall was installed in Japan, actually, where Tesla has very little market penetration, which it does look pretty cool also. Maybe Tesla's push to put more superchargers in Japan may open up a new market for Tesla. With this news, Tesla just opened its 60th thousand supercharger. That means that Tesla on average is opening 25 superchargers per day every day. Milan Kovac was promoted to vice president of Optimus at Tesla in recent weeks, after having served over 8 years, 6 months at the company. We are also getting this pretty cool video of Optimus that has learned how to walk itself to its charging point, back up, and plug itself in, which I think that is the revolution that we will have to get to. Even if you own a Tesla bot, it would be pretty annoying to have to carry that thing over to a charging port if it dies on you standing in the living room. I'm sure those things are not super light. It is being reported that California now has 13.39 gigawatt hours of storage capacity, a 30% increase since April, and 15x more than it had 5 years ago. Tesla has released a Model Y rear canopy in the US for $150. Stellantis reported their Q3 delivery numbers today, and their North American sales are down by a whopping 36% year over year, while their overall global sales are down 20% year over year. So we already knew the 20% number, but we're getting specific geographical locations where the deliveries are good or bad, and North America is really a weak spot. That was also a weak spot for Tesla, so it's not super surprising that everyone's kind of struggling in the US, which again just kind of makes you wonder just how accurate our economic data actually is. Tesla is also now accepting questions for their Q3 2024 earnings Q&A. They usually answer 3 to 5 questions from retail investors. The number one question so far with the most upvotes is this one: is Tesla still on track to deliver the most affordable model next year, as mentioned by Elon earlier, and how does it align with your AI and product roadmap? The next gen vehicle for Tesla, the lower priced Tesla, this can be a vehicle between $25,000 and $30,000, is expected to be a big driver of growth for Tesla. Now, there's a lot of open-ended questions to when that vehicle could be coming. What's it going to look like? Is it a 2-seater? Is it a 5-seater? Personally, I don't think a 2-seater would be good news, again, because even someone like myself, single dad of 2 kids, could not get a 2-seat car. It just would not work. So I'm optimistic that we get something that's not 2 seats, but you also should kind of have an open mind there to say, if we don't get something the market's like, then 2025 is going to be a rough year for Tesla. Really, it's not even about robo-taxis. It's about the lower priced model coming from Tesla. That's what Wall Street is really focused on right now. So I do think it is critically important that Tesla checks all the boxes when it comes to the lower priced Tesla. Again, the biggest one of which is this thing needs to be a 5-seater. If it's a 2-seater, we have a big problem. Because again, the market is only so big for 2-seat vehicles. And I think there is some concern walking away from the Robotaxi event with the Cybercab, because a lot of people think the Model 2, the vehicle we're expecting next year, is going to be somewhat like the Cybercab, going to be on the same kind of production lines. And if it's only a 2-seater, again, that's a problem. We didn't get any clarity from that on the October 10th Robotaxi event. I did not expect we would, and that could be one reason why Tesla's stock did take that event so negatively, because we just didn't get any information about the Model 2. With that said, take a listen to what Jensen Huang, Nvidia's CEO, just said about Elon Musk. He actually calls him superhuman.
Building a massive factory, liquid cooled, energized, permitted, in the short time that was done. I mean, that is like superhuman. Right. And as far as I know, there's only one person in the world who could do that. Right. You know, I mean, Elon is singular in this understanding of engineering and construction and large systems and marshaling resources. Incredible. Yeah, it's unbelievable. And of course, then his engineering team is extraordinary. I mean, the software team's great, the networking team's great, the infrastructure team is great. You know, Elon understands this deeply. And from the moment that we decided to go, the planning with our engineering team, then all of the infrastructure, all of the logistics, and the amount of technology and equipment that came in on that day to training, 19 days. Incredible. Right. Yeah. So I think what Elon and the X team did, and I'm really appreciative that he acknowledges the engineering work that we did with him and the planning work and all that stuff. But what they achieved is singular, never been done before. Just to put in perspective, 100,000 GPUs. That's, you know, easily the fastest supercomputer on the planet. That's one cluster. A supercomputer that you would build would take normally 3 years to plan. Right. And then they deliver the equipment, and it takes 1 year to get it all working. Yes. We're talking about 19 days.
Now, in all fairness, I do believe Elon Musk is still trying to get everything to work, but still valid points from Jensen Huang. That was impressive in and of itself. And good thing the markets don't understand what's going on at Tesla, and we are able to buy as many shares as possible at these lower prices. When the markets realize what Tesla is actually doing, the value that will be accretive at Tesla in the coming years, Tesla stock will price that in almost instantly. Within just a matter of days, I think you could see Tesla stock go to all-time highs. When the markets flip that switch and they start to realize this is the biggest AI company in the world. So for any of you guys that had doubts if I'm bullish on Tesla or not, there's your answer. Tesla is the AI company. And I mean, we could talk about this in other videos, because I could talk about exactly why I love Tesla right now. Whether you're in the hard landing or soft landing camp, there's a very strong bull case for Tesla either way. But I don't want to spend the next hour talking about that. Maybe we'll talk about that a little bit more in the next video coming out at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight. We do have some data to cover today. First and foremost, the ECB did cut rates as they were expected to do, bringing their federal funds rate down to 3.4%. Retail sales month over month was really one of the big catalysts for the US markets today. We came in at positive 0.4% month over month. The estimate was 0.3%, and last month was 0.1%. So on the headline numbers, you beat, but it's not as easy as that. And we'll talk about that in just a moment. Initial jobless claims came in at 241,000. The estimate was 260,000. There was a lot of talk on CNBC this morning when these numbers came out that some of the counties in which report initial jobless claims, they all do, but some counties out there did not properly report the initial jobless claims because of Columbus Day, which I find interesting. Wall Street kind of said these were weird numbers, that maybe the numbers are not accurate. So yes, it did give markets a little bit of a boost today, but I think it was really retail sales that the markets took with stride and got excited about. Now, Philadelphia Fed Manufacturing Index came in really good at 10.3. The estimate was 3, so that was great. Business conditions soared to 36.7. The estimate was 15.8. I would be curious how much of this actually has to do with perceived rate cuts. I mean, that's what I would expect, but we'll see in the coming months. Philadelphia Fed Capex Index came in at 23.50. Last month was 25. Philly Fed employment was really the only negative area of this report, coming in at negative 2.2, which again is strange to see the headline index soar, but employment come in negative. You don't see that all the time. Philly Fed new orders came in at 14.2. Last month was negative 1.5. And Philly Fed prices paid came in at 29.7, which was lower than last month when you came in at 34. So that was also good in this report. I would say overall, this manufacturing report out of the Philadelphia Fed area actually was one of the bright spots of the day today. Industrial production month over month came in at negative 0.3%. The estimate was negative 0.2% after a revised 0.3% last month. That was actually revised down from positive 0.8% to positive 0.3%. So a big reduction there. Capacity utilization also came down from 77.8 to 77.5. Not exactly super great there. Industrial production year over year came in at negative 0.6%. Manufacturing production month over month really plummeted, coming in at negative 0.4% after last month being positive 0.5%. But that was previously at 0.9%, was revised down quite a bit. And manufacturing production year over year was expected at 0%. It was 0.2%, came down to 0% in the revision, and came in at negative 0.5%. So that data is really not good. Industrial production, manufacturing production, business inventories came in at positive 0.3%. Last month, you were 0.4%, revised lower to 0.3%. So that was kind of in line with expectations. The NAHB Housing Market Index also went up to 43, whereas the estimate was 42. Now, as Zero Hedge writes on X, this was the biggest September seasonal adjustment on record. So you are getting these massive seasonal adjustments with basically all of the data that we have gotten recently that kind of distorts what the actual data is reporting to us. So as you can actually see here, the estimated monthly sales for retail and food services by kind of business, this number here is the total. Okay. So this top column is really what you want to pay attention to more than everything else. And you could see this column is not adjusted for 2024. This column is adjusted for 2024. So it goes right to left. So you have July here. That's the number, 726,000. August was 736,000. So that was actually a jump from July to August, not adjusted. But August to September, you actually plummeted around 7%, from 736,000 down to 681,000. Now, what? How do you seasonally adjust this to actually be positive month over month? That is craziness. Okay? Now, the adjusted numbers shows 710,000 in July, 711,000 in August, and 714,000 in July, or in September, and that's where you got the positive month-over-month number here. But if you look at non-seasonally adjusted numbers, the raw input data, you actually plummeted in September. Now, I think this is important. Now, Wall Street, they care about adjusted numbers. Okay, there is not a lot of good data in regards to this. These are only estimates. So there's going to be 3 more numbers coming out, 3 more revisions. And that's the hard part about right now is as we get more data, we could adjust this seasonal adjustment away. So 3 months from now, the numbers that we got today could actually be really bad. And that's part of the problem over the next couple of months. If we continue to see weakness overall, the seasonal adjustment will no longer start to help us. The seasonal adjustment, it's saving the numbers on face value, but it won't forever. And if we're really seeing a 7% drop month over month, again, these numbers are just estimates. They're not that great to begin with. So maybe it's not as bad as 7%. But assuming this is accurately what happened month over month, negative 7+%, 3 months from now, you could actually start to see that reflected in the data. And I do think that's why the markets are not just soaring higher today, because there's a lot of uncertainty just how accurate this data is, and if a lot of it's just going to be revised away in the coming months. Let me know what you think down below in the comment section. If you think the economy is strong, the labor market is strong, let me know what you're seeing and hearing out there in your personal life. Me personally in Michigan, people are struggling. Even, middle income consumers. It was low end consumers. I think it's really now everyone is struggling. There's this crazy thing that happens with inflation. If you don't change jobs, if you're not a job switcher and you stay at your job, which a lot of people did, your wages do not even come close to outpacing inflation. Job changers tend to have their wages go up more than job stayers, which should be the opposite, but it is what it is. It can take many years for people's wages to actually catch up to the cost of living. So what I'm seeing right now is a lot of people stayed at the same job. They've been there for years and they're drowning because the cost of living has went up a lot and their wages have not. And that's, I think, the broader story. Now, here on the day today, the VIX is down 2.35%, down to 19.12, which is a great sign. The Russell 2000 is the worst performing index, down 0.5%. The NASDAQ up 0.5%, mainly being led by Nvidia. After TSMC's earnings today were really good across the board. S&P 500 was up 1/3%, and the Dow is also up 1/3%. Some of this weakness in the Russell 2000 is also via the data that we got this morning. Markets took this as good news, and 10-year Treasury yields went up 7.5 basis points. You also had the 2-year Treasury break above 4% again for the first time in many months, and that is pricing in less Fed accommodation. You can see the equal weight S&P is actually trading lower today, down 0.14%, whereas again the headline S&P is up 1/3%, really being carried higher by Nvidia, that's up 3% today. Some other big tech names, Amazon, Meta, Apple, Microsoft, up 1/4 to 1/2%. Nvidia, which reports earnings today after the bell, is down about 1%. So some weird things going on with Netflix today. Now, there's also news today that Tesla is transferring $760 million in Bitcoin to unknown wallets, fueling rumors of a sale. We are seeing a lot of shares today being covered from hedge funds and institutions, about 1.87 million to be exact. So short sellers continue to cover on a lot of their short position. Option activity in Tesla stock today, although it is on the low side, is pretty positive, coming back after the last couple of days of being more on the negative side. Positive order value today sitting at 68%. You have seen 37 different trades totaling $12.13 million. Google Trends data for the United States continues to show an uptrend for the Model Y, Model 3, a downtrend for the Cybertruck, which is not surprising considering the Cybertruck has by far been the most searched about product. When we pull this out to a worldwide view on Google Trends, you can clearly see an uptick in Model Y search trend activity, a slight downtick in Model 3 search trend activity, and a downtick as well for the Cybertruck. Tesla stock today continues to find support at that 100-day moving average, around $217 per share, but more on that in the next video coming out at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today. With that said, my name is Michael Tyler. You guys have a fantastic rest of your day. Stay safe out there, and I will see you in the next one.